Yeah, buddy.
Well, hey, wait a minute.
Jason
This next interview is brought to you by PatinoDiet.com.
Hello?
Hey, good evening, Jason.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, man, I'm doing fucking awesome, dude. This is Big Perm with Uncensored MMA. You're on live with me, and then I got my co-host here with me, too, man, Dave the Butcher Clifford. Dave, are you there, bud?
What's that?
Absolutely. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're welcome, brother, man. Thank you for taking the time, man. Each and every Monday night, you know, Dave and I sit around on the phone talking to some of the baddest mofos in the business, and it's almost like living a dream, man. Not too many people can say they do that. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got this fight coming up May 10th at MFC 37 against another tough grappler, Mr. Luke Harris. And, you know, you yourself being a great grappler, do you think it's going to be a stand-up war?
Hopefully, that's what I'm hoping for, because I know my striking is very crisp. That's actually what I'm known for. Most of the people who train with me, that's what they seem to remember. And I do have very good grappling, but, you know, if it comes to a striking war, I think I'd have the upper hand in that. So hopefully, you know, if he's game to strike, I prefer that.
Well, and going into this fight, I mean, there a lot of people out there that talk about fights say this is perhaps one of the toughest tests of your career. How do you look at each fight, and is this one any different than any other, or are you prepared to make this the best fight of your career?
Absolutely. You know, I agree with him. This is probably the hardest fight of my career. I do have a loss against Mario Miranda. He was a real tough guy, you know, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian National Wrestling champ, really tough guy. Real similar fight as well. But yeah, you know, I think this is probably the hardest fight of my career. It's definitely the biggest one as far as promoting my career. And that's, you know, as far as each fight kind of changing. My last opponent was real similar to Luke. Strong grappler, good on the ground, most of his wins. Luke, all of his wins by submission. So I think it's just like the last fight, but ramped up quite a bit in the grappling department. So hopefully it'll be a good chance for me to showcase my striking. So, yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes. Hopefully he's down to strike too, but I'll only find out when the leather starts flying.
That's just it when that cage door closes, man. You know, you just bring your game. And I've talked with fighters before, and that's something I wanted to ask you about. You know, when you're in the back room and you're getting ready to go out there, you know, how tough is it to stay mentally focused and not be beaten before you even make it into that cage?
You know, for a lot of people, it's very hard. One thing that is pretty unique about me is the more nervous the people in the locker room with me, the more nervous they are. This seems like the calmer I am, or the more nervous that my corner is. This seems like the more calm I am. I've always been like that, and it's funny you'll hear guys say, "Oh, I'm not nervous for this fight. I'm not nervous," and they're peeing every 10 seconds, and they can't stop walking around. Yeah, and yeah, really, I don't really get those nerves anymore. You know, every now and then maybe my legs might feel sore a little bit, and that's kind of a sign of a little bit of stress before a fight. But no, I usually walk out there and I'm, if anything, too relaxed. I kind of get in there and I'm like, no, well, I'm just lounging around, and I need to be, I need to be a little bit more, you know, killer mentality. But you know, once the bell rings, then you know, I'm all game.
Well, and that's you know, you hit a great point there, and you know, one of the things that we love about mixed martial arts and combat sports is that you really are challenging yourself. I mean, it is, you do have a corner, but it is one-on-one, and part of that challenge is getting yourself ready, being ready to walk in there. And why don't you tell us who gets you ready for that? Tell us about the gym that you might represent, and who's getting you ready for this.
Yeah, I actually just changed gyms. The new gym I'm training at is the Dog Pound, and I train with some really tough guys. You probably know Lloyd Cupcake Woodard, fights for Bellator. He's a real tough dude. Yeah, he's a character too.
I watched him fight in person.
Go ahead.
Oh, that was it, man. Go right ahead, my homie.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the
Keep
delay
going.
is kind of throwing me off. But yeah, he's a tough dude. He always pushes the pace. He's a bit smaller than me though. But a lot of people would be surprised by how big he is once you're actually standing next to him. He's a big 55er. But we have a lot of other guys much bigger than me that can help push me that my other gym didn't have. In my other gym, I was the biggest guy there, whereas, there's, 250, 60 pounders. There's one guy who's over 300 pounds. And, when he, starts in mount position, trying to get him off of my chest is it's pretty intense. So yeah, I'm pretty ready for the kind of pressure that Luke's going to bring. I know he's got great grappling, so he's going to bring that. So yeah, the gym that I'm training at now is a lot better as far as the grappling with the wrestling and jiu-jitsu, and I feel really crisp with my jiu-jitsu. I mean, like today I had an excellent practice and just rolled through everyone. So if it goes there, my camp's really prepared me for that, and yeah, I'll be representing the dog pound in this MFC fight. So yeah, it's a new gym, new beginnings, and I'm excited to see how it all unfolds in the ring.
Well, you've had some success at MFC, and now we've had Mark Pavlich on the show before, and he's also quite the character. And it seems as though you dig those kind of cats. So what's it like fighting for that organization?
It's really cool. I've never fought for an organization where, there's so much media. I mean, I've done so many interviews, and I love doing it, That's one of the reasons I love fighting. I love getting up in front of people, and I love putting on a good show. I don't want to fight and just squeak by a win and be like, all right, I won. I want to go up in front of a bunch of people when the pressure's on me and really kick some ass. But, yeah, as far as the MFC, they've treated me very well, and there's a lot of really tough guys in the MFC. So I'm excited to see what happens with this fight and, with my future. This will be the last fight of my contract. So hopefully I'll be able to beat and finish Luke Harris and hopefully get that title shot afterwards because, that's what I'm going for. And, yeah, like I said, there's some really tough guys.
I was just going to say, former
Mutapcic.
guest of the show, Elvis Mutapcic holds that gold that you're looking for.
Yeah, he's a good dude, too. After my last fight, or our last fight when he fought Sam Alvey, and I fought Clay Davidson. We were drinking beers in the pub afterwards. It was funny because in the post-fight conference, I kind of called him out. I was like, I like you, man, but I really want to fight you even more. And he was like, I can't believe you called me out. And it was all in good fun though, so it wasn't anything personal. And yeah, he's a really cool guy.
Well, talking about being out at the pub, of course, that's after the fight. Before we talked with you, we were talking with Dr. Frank Patino of the Patino Diet, and I just wanted to ask, what kind of diet you followed, and, obviously it's important, but I just was kind of curious as to, overall, especially at this new gym, how and what do they do as far as diet goes, and what do you do? How important is it?
It's very important. I've actually helped quite a few fighters with their diet and cutting weight. There's a lot of misconceptions about how the body, retains and loses water as well as the polishes burning fat. I got my bachelor's in health and human performance, and I'm an ACSM certified personal trainer. So this isn't anything new. I've had 16 fights total. Yeah, thanks. And yeah, so the diet that I have right now is working excellent for me. And my last fight, a lot of people saw me cutting weight and it looked like I didn't know what I was doing, but I was cutting 255 pounds because I had a stage 1 tear in my LCL, my right knee, so I couldn't even run at one point, and it was killing me. So I got up to 240, and yeah, man, I cut way too much weight. It was just so much weight in such a short amount of time that I was just laying there waiting to weigh in with a cup of water and an empty cup that I could swish the water and spit it into the other one. And, oh, man, fighters were walking by like, are you okay, man? You look half dead. I was like, just leave me be.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Well, and I think that psychs your opponent out, too. That gives you a bit of an edge if they think you're weak. They might party or they might hang out a little later than they want.
Yeah, I mean, it did affect me. My cardio wasn't quite where I, had it and where it should have been because of such a drastic weight cut. But yeah, a lot of people kind of are fishing for kind of ego booster.
For an edge.
Oh, my opponent, he won't look me in the eyes. That means he's probably scared. And, I'll get him and stuff like that. And it's funny to hear guys kind of look for those. But, whether it affects him or not, I know what I'm going to do in there. And, he's going to try and stop me from doing it. But it's my job to not let him do that.
Well, since you mentioned real quick that you had a degree in some of this, so you must be familiar with the glycemic index yourself. I mean, how much does that play into what type of carbs that you have and how you ingest certain things? I mean, do you deal with like the bone density and fat content quite a bit?
Yeah, I'm used to being at the university. I obviously graduated where they have underwater weighing, and it's just tons, like VO2 max equipment. They have tons of stuff there that I could use to help me, see where I am physically for my fight. And I don't quite have that right now. But, as far as carbohydrates in the diet, huge. As far as cutting weight, sodium and water intake, tapering it down and everything like that. So that's something that I'm monitoring from about 5 to 6 days out from the fight very strictly. And it's kind of a pain in the ass to trying to be, measuring out how much, carbohydrates and what type and, all your fats, got to get the good fat.
Just this weekend at UFC 159, talking about the UFC for a second, but you saw Nick Catone and, pulled from a fight, because of dehydration, trying to make that cut. And, some guys, especially for the amateurs and the up-and-comers that are listening to our show, they don't understand how important it is to really monitor that stuff even days out when you're trying to make that weight cut.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And, that's one thing that I've actually brought to the new gym. There's quite a few pro fighters there, and I've helped one of the amateur fighters cut weight for his last fight, and, he only gave me like 5 days notice. And I was like, oh, crap. Like, okay, well, we'll piece something together. Thanks for the heads up. And, I helped him with his weight cut, and he was blown away. He was like, oh, my God, that was so easy. I was like, yeah, give me 2 weeks, and then I'll show you how easy it can be.
Well, a lot of guys, I mean, especially since you mentioned, and I'm not cutting on amateur fighters. I mean, everybody's got to start somewhere, and some of these guys only have under 5 fights. But you see them come in and they're 190 or 185, and it's like, dude, you're going to be a great 45er if you stick with this.
Yeah. That's crazy.
5'7", 205.
Just monsters out there. Yeah, look at Anthony Johnson. I mean, he fought, just an example, he fought in the UFC that he couldn't make weight. Fought at 170, now he's fighting a heavyweight. It's like, what? Yeah. Come on, man. He was cutting, and I met him in person, and he's a pretty big dude. He was cutting way too much weight for those fights, and that's just not smart.
Definitely not. So, Jason, let's get back to this. This fight that you got coming up with Luke Harris and fighting in the MFC. I mean, obviously, you fought with him a few times. You're on the big stage. As you work your way up the rung towards Mustafa, you say you don't feel pressure anymore, but as you get closer to that belt, and you're out there doing all these interviews and all the media, I know that there's got to be a little bit of pressure. Does it build at all the closer you get to that title shot?
It hasn't really. It seems like I put more pressure on myself than anybody else can. So as long as I'm confident in what I'm about to do, then it doesn't really matter what else happens, who holds the belt, what his style is, and how I match up. It's really how I feel. And that's a large part of it that a lot of people, like you said earlier, you'll see guys lose the fight before they even walk in there. They'll mentally break. Right. Or during the fight, they'll hit somebody with their hardest punch. They'll try and get somebody with their bread and butter submission, and they keep getting out, and then you'll see them just, you'll see them buckle, and that's them beating themselves rather than be like, okay, let's keep going, let's get this. And, so as long as you keep that pressure on yourself and it's constructive, that's really the most important thing. And, so far, it might build up. I've never fought for a title of this caliber before. So it might build up, but so far it really hasn't, and I'm pretty happy with where my emotion and nerves are right now. So I feel really comfortable, really confident, and really excited. You know, everybody always says they're excited for a fight, but I am. Like, most people say that out of nerve, but I'm excited to get in there and get my hands on them and see how it goes.
Well, one thing it seems like to me. Whoops. Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah. Well, one thing it seems like to me is if you do enjoy these interviews and you've got a real cool demeanor, you know, you're enjoying yourself, that helps to alleviate any of that pressure, doesn't it? I mean, going out and talking and having some fun and, you know, getting to meet cool dudes like us and, you know, you know, you get to fucking just relax. I mean, it sounds to me like that's one of the ways that you do de-stress, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, 99% of all professional athletes do visualization, and you know, for what I do for my visualization, you know, to a point, it's kind of like meditation, not, you know, the whole spiritual thing. I'm not quite that way, but you know, I visualize so much about the fight coming up and about where I am. Try to, you know, set myself aside and see myself and see where I'm at, see where my opponent's at, and see how the fight can play out. You know, whether, you know, I go out there, get hit with a big shot, get put in my butt, or, you know, I go out there and, you know, it's a war, or I go out there and I hit him with one punch and knock him out. Regardless what happens, you know, a million ways it can play out, I still end up with my hand raised at the end. And, you know, having all of those options, you know, it keeps me from getting in that mentality where, yep, one punch, I'm going to punch him once, knock him out, and go drink beer. You know, I can't get into that mode.
I'll tell you what, that's funny you say that because, and I don't mean to cut you off again, Perm, but this was real interesting because I've been doing commentary. And this weekend I was doing commentary, and there was 28 fights on this card, so I had a lot of cool stuff I got to say a lot of cool shit. And it seemed to me like some of these guys, and there's not, once again, nothing against anybody, but you see this on the pro level too, where, and I call it the special moves, you know, because the only fighting I do is video games, man. I just talk about it, and I'm a ring announcer and commentator. And I'm like, I started this little thing where I'm like, if he'd have took his finger off the R1 button and threw some jabs, he might have gotten in there, but he was throwing special moves every time.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, I'm a huge video game nerd as well, so I can relate. But yeah, you know, a lot of people swinging for that haymaker rather than picking their shots, knowing what works, what doesn't. I like that analogy. I might use that.
Do it. Just credit the butcher. And I know Perm's got a fan question for you, so I'll quit talking, homie.
It's all good, man. Well, yeah, just a fan question came in, and the question was who was your very first opponent? And what was the venue that you fought in? And that comes from Aaron De Silva in Moline, Illinois.
Oh, excellent. All right, Aaron. My very first opponent was actually, it was an amateur fight. Again, I fought Tim Welch. He's actually a Bellator fighter as well. He fought a couple Bellator cards ago. And, yeah, it was in Kalispell, Montana. I remember going out there and same type of thing. You know, I didn't have any nerves walking in there like everybody's screaming for me. I was like, all right. And then I get in the ring, and I look across, and I see him mean-mugging me like he wants to rip my head off, pretty much shaking in the corner. He's so angry, and I was like, oh, shit. Like, what am I doing in here? I'm going to get my head crushed in. And, yeah, and I remember watching it, like, probably a couple months ago, and, it was a really sloppy fight. But, you know, we didn't know what we were doing. We, you know, threw some punches, ended up clinching, and, of course, go right into, like, a wrestling, like, tie where our butts are really far back, and there's a huge gap between us. We both start firing knees, beating each other up in the guts. And, yeah, and then I eventually ended up TKOing him. I got his back and started hitting him. You know, he's a super tough kid. You know, he's damn near impossible to knock out, but I just kept hitting him, and he couldn't, you know, I just didn't have the knowledge of how to get out of that position, and I ended up winning. But, yeah, he's one of my good friends till this day. Trains down, give him a little shout-out, Tim Welch down at MMA Lab in Phoenix, and yeah, he's a good dude, and that was my first fight, and it's cool to see both of us start, you know, such a crappy little fight in a small production all the way up to, you know, the big shows. We're in the big leagues now, so, you know, I wish him the best of luck. But yeah, thanks.
Man, that's awesome.
Oh yeah. Well, wait, I'm trying to find my button. There it is.
Oh, okay, well, my turn again, huh? All right, that boxing bell right there signifies that we have just a couple of minutes left with you, Jason, and we'd like to ask a little fun question before I turn Perm loose on you and let you give your shout-out. And if there were tag team MMA, open weight, who would you pick as a partner, and who would you want to face?
Oh, man, I'm going to have some fun with this. So I'd have to choose Dan Henderson because, man, he's my hero. That dude is 42 years old and knocking out the best dudes in the world. Like, he's had some hiccups. Yeah, but he's tough as they come. And,
I saw him knock out Fedor in person, man. That fight was crazy. And I'm a huge Fedor fan, but it was an awesome fight.
Yeah, I remember watching that fight. I was a huge fan of like Fedor as well. And I didn't really know who I wanted to win. And when I watched that finish, I was out of my seat and screaming before I knew what I was doing. That was an awesome fight. But yeah.
Sorry.
As far as our opponents, I'd probably, you know what? It'd be worth it to just throw Anderson Silva in there. I'm not a big fan of him. He's unbelievable, amazing striking. Even if he knocked me out, I'd still want to kick him in the pills once or maybe hit him on the chin if I'm lucky. But it'd probably be him and Michael Bisping. I wouldn't mind smacking him around a bit.
Oh, good pick.
I'd like to see Henderson do what he did to him again. Oh my God.
Yeah. That would be epic.
Oh yeah. Well, listen. With the last few seconds that we got, Jason, I just wanted to give you the opportunity to throw some shout-outs out there, thank any of your sponsors, but also let our listeners know how they can, stay in touch with you, how they can follow along, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you guys for having me on. I mean, this is awesome. You guys are super cool. You're energetic and a lot of fun to talk to. And then, if any of them want to get a hold of me, my Twitter is @Jason Zentgraf, JasonZentgraf. And then, as far as my sponsors go, Kimura Wear has been amazing. I'm going to be wearing their compression shorts, the Pro X series, and they look awesome. I'm going to be wearing those out.
Hey, that cut out. I don't want you to miss out on that. Say that again. I'm sorry. The first part of that name cut out, and I didn't hear it, bro. I don't want you to give you a chance to say it again. Sorry. Yeah,
thanks for the heads up. Kimura Wear. I'm wearing their fight shorts, the compression shorts out there. Really nice shorts. The company's awesome. They've been really good to me. Hopefully I can return the favor. Fight Label, Scrap Soldier, Big Fight Management. Those are my managers. Wade Hampel, Pat Wilson, Will Hammond. Those guys are awesome. They do more for me than they could understand. As far as, getting me sponsors, getting me those big fights that I've been having, and even bigger fights to come. So I'm excited to see how everything unfolds. And, to all the fans, I love you guys. Please hit me up on Twitter. I'm kind of new to it, so, if I don't retweet your stuff, don't take it personally. I'm just fumbling around on my broken Droid phone. So, hit me up on Twitter.
Idea.
Jason's a noob, so cut him some slack.
I gave up. Man, I gave up on Twitter myself. I don't fuck with it.
Oh man, it's killing me.
Hey, well, Jason, most important, just from me, the Butcher, and my producer Chris as well, I just want to say thanks again to you, man, for taking the time, and we wish you best of luck May 10th at MFC 37 and your climb up there to the gold. You take care of yourself, brother, and have a great evening.
Excellent. Thank you very much, guys. You have a good evening, too.
Right, man. Take it easy.
You too. Later.
All righty, Dave. That was Mr. Jason Zentgraf, Maximum Fighting Championship fighter, taking on Luke Harris May 10th at MFC 37. You can catch those fights on AXS TV. And, of course, follow along Jason Zentgraf on Twitter. Of course, Maximum Fighting Championship on Twitter. It's at Maximum Fighting, I believe. But Dave,
and Mark Pavlich too.
Oh yeah,
Mark Pavlich too.
And Scott Zur as well. I want to say thanks to Scott for hooking us up with this great interview tonight. Scott's wonderful to work with over there. And Mark, man, when we had Mark on the show, I can't wait to have him back on. He was so fired up and so energetic, man. I mean, he like set me on fire.
I'll be ready for him next time.
Yeah, no doubt, man, no doubt.
He shot